Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Reedinger. I am interning at the Bliss Institute this semester. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking to some alumni about their experiences at the University of Akron and at the Bliss Institute. Today, I'm here with Taylor Swift. Taylor, thank you for sitting down with me.
Absolutely. It's great to be here.
So, first, can you just tell me about a little bit about yourself and what you're doing now?
Yeah, definitely. So I currently work as a policy advisor for Demand Progress. We are a nonprofit organization that focuses on congressional transparency, accountability, and capacity for the legislative branch. I work here in Washington, D.C., although, it's been different lately given, the COVID pandemic, a lot of remote work and Zoom meetings. But yeah, I basically focus on strengthening the legislative branch for Congress. So more funding for staff, more resources for committees, more oversight to oversee the executive branch. And it's been a great job so far. I've been here for about a year and some change. It's been great.
Perfect. And can you tell me a little bit about how you found that job and if there was anything before it that kind of led you to finding this?
Yeah. So how do I want to start? So basically, I knew into my sophomore year of college when I went to the University of Akron that I wanted to do politics. I actually originally started as a biomedical engineer and realized quite quickly that kind of wasn't the track for me. So I decided to go into political science. I fell in love with the classes, really enjoyed a lot of my teachers, enjoyed the environment. And I knew that I kind of wanted to do federal policy immediately. Sometimes it's difficult because you want to do state, you want to do local and federal. I kind of knew from the very beginning that I wanted to do federal policy. So I got my undergraduate degree in a couple of years and then went and got my master's degree at the University of Akron as well with the Bliss Institute of Applied Politics. And while I was doing my master's program, I had the opportunity to intern with Congressman Tim Ryan my first year, and it just totally codified the way that I wanted to come down to DC and work. And I loved the experience. I loved the energy, and it just was a natural fit for me. So when I came back my second year, I took additional classes, finished up my capstone project, and then I just moved down to DC and I started to work for Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur. And then I took a job off the Hill for a little while to work at a think tank. And then I came back to the Hill and was fortunate enough to get a policy fellowship with Hakeem Jeffries, who is the Democratic caucus chair for the House of Representatives. So I worked there for almost a year. It was extremely exhausting, but I learned so much and I met so many people. And it really gave me the ins and outs of the legislative process from a leadership perspective in the House. So I got to see all of the moving parts. I got to be next to members having those kind of, policy discussions, the conversations about how the sausage is made. I think was extremely valuable. And then the hours are really long and the pay is really low on the Hill, unfortunately. And so there was a job with Demand Progress, and it just was a natural fit for me. It aligned very closely with my values. The people that worked there, I really got along with during the interview process. And so it just felt like a natural fit. So I ended up taking the job. I believe it was September, October of 2019, and I've been here ever since.
Great. And you talked a little bit about what got you into politics, but looking back, what drew you to the University of Akron?
So originally, like I said, it was actually biomedical engineering, but I think it was so much more than that. When I was in high school, I did public forum debate, and so I really liked politics from the get-go. But the reason initially I chose Akron because it felt like a place that I could call home, and it just really. I even remember going on my first tour, and I was like, this is a place I could totally see myself spending a lot of time and making a good difference. And I was able to join a lot of student organizations. I was in undergraduate student government in both my undergrad and when I joined graduate student government. So I did a lot of student organizations as well as took those classes. But, I was able to balance my class schedule really well. So it was a blessing because I felt like the work was challenging enough and my teachers were challenging me enough to learn new things and think about things differently. But then also I was able to go on my own and start learning my leadership style, learning how I was able to help change the university through student organizations. And so it really helped, I was able to use those experiences to kind of tailor the way that I'm able to work on the Hill now. And I would totally think that if I would have went to another university, I definitely would not have gotten those kind of hands-on experiences, both in the classroom and in extracurriculars.
Interesting. And you talked a little bit about some classes and some student organizations you were a part of. Can you go a little bit more into that? Were there any specific professors or classes or internships that you believe made an impact on you?
Definitely. Right off the bat, the person that gave me the greatest guidance in the university was Dr. David Cohen. I probably wouldn't be in DC without him. There were times even when I knew it in my head that I wanted to go to DC and I knew that I wanted to make that leap, but I would even question myself or doubt myself. He stood strong as, and not only a professor, but a friend and a mentor to help push me in the right direction. And I really valued that because he believed in me. And I know I wasn't alone because there were so many other students that he spent time doing the exact same thing with. And it was so valuable to know that a lot of the professors in the Bliss Institute and the University of Akron as a whole, they really valued their students on a personal level, which another reason why I thought it was so great to go to the University of Akron. And besides Dr. Cohen, I mean, I took a lot of his, I think I took every single one of his classes, but Dr. Lyons, who taught law, mediation, and violence, that was definitely an integral class in understanding both sides of an argument, looking at differing perspectives and understanding issues in the current times, as well as Dr. Carl Koltenthaler when I was in grad school really helped. He gave me a really good direction when I was struggling with how to write and kind of put my capstone together. And he gave me a very good objectified direction on this is what I think would work best. Here's how I think you should frame it. And I thought it really worked well. So those are the three that I can think of off the top of my head, and then a couple of those classes from all of those professors I highly recommend.
Great. That's great information to have. Moving on, is there a memory or a time that you remember that sticks out to you at the university? It doesn't necessarily have to be a political one, but just a memory that you have at the University of Akron.
Yeah, so I remember when I was a senior, I went into a class with Dr. Cohen. I think it was his Congress class, and it was the day after President Trump took the United States out of the Iran nuclear deal. And I just remember I was very defeated as someone who leans Democrat. I didn't really agree with the perspective, but going into class, I knew that I would get a perspective from a professor that could explain why it was happening from an objective perspective.
Mhm.
And I thought he did just that. He was able to not only explain the process, but then humanize the problem. And then we had a discussion as a class. And I thought that was like extremely valuable because as someone who was relatively new to the political space, it was very emotional for me, but he was able to like, again, just level everything. And it's just a testament to show that he's been going through this kind of thing all his life and he's a true professional. And so it just made me feel reassured that I was in good hands when it came to like understanding the issues and the policies around politics, because sometimes it can be very how do I want to say it? It's very emotional, but he was able to keep everything objective, and I really valued that.
Great. And then my last question for you here is what would you say to someone that is currently studying political science or to someone who is considering going into politics?
Yeah, what would my advice be to students that are studying political science or wanting to go into politics? My
Yes.
biggest piece of advice is if you truly want to do that and you believe in yourself, you can make it happen. The University of Akron has the resources, they have the staff, and they have the wherewithal to make that dream a reality if you work hard enough. Because as someone that came to DC, worked an internship for free, and then came to the Hill and worked for very low salary, it's really hard. And it's really difficult to stay motivated when you're not making a lot of money, when the hours are really long and really daunting, and it's really stressful. But if you believe that that's something that you want to do to make a change, it's 100% worth it, because the satisfaction of knowing you're making a difference makes it worth it. And when you're in school, when you're in your classes, study it all, read all the books, read more, because knowledge at the end of the day is the power, because that gives you that little extra when you're interviewing for those roles, when you're already in an internship that you enjoy. Being able to have that experience and knowledge up front is going to pay dividends when an actual opportunity does arrive, because then you're there and you're present for that moment. You're able to capitalize on it. So I would say persevere, push forward, even if you don't agree with what's going on in the climate, push forward, and make sure you continue to read, continue to study, and it makes you a more well-rounded individual for that professional life once school ends.
Well, great. Very well put. Thank you, Taylor, for sitting down with me. Again, my name is Jack Reedinger, and I am interning at the Bliss Institute this semester. Over the next few weeks, I'll be interviewing many alumni about their experiences both at school and in professional life. Taylor, thank you again.
Absolutely, Jack. Thank you.